This will be a day long remembered. Now I am the master.
Welcome to another episode of Legends and Theories. Obi-Wan Kenobi is sent to the world of Mandalore to investigate into a series of terrorist attacks committed by people in Mandalorian armor. Landing on the planet, Obi-Wan meets up with his old friend Duchess Satine Kryze, who is the ruler of the planet, and he begins to talk with her. She denies that as Mandalorian is involved with her people or her government. She says that all of the people that still follow Mandalore's warriors' ways have been banished to the moon of Concordia, and now all the people on the planet of Mandalore are peaceful. She does admit they have had some problems with a group called Death Watch, but they are only some hooligans who do simple vandalism and other small crimes. Obi-Wan then goes with Satine to walk around Mandalore, and a terrorist attack is committed inside of the plaza of the city. Obi-Wan tries to track down the bomber, but he falls to his death, so he's not taken alive, and Satine does comfort the man as he dies. Obi-Wan, now even more suspicious, requests to go to the moon of Concordia, and Satine agrees, but she has to go with him because of the actions that he committed, being involved with the death of someone from the moon, although he wasn't directly responsible for killing him. Is pretty complex politically, and she just thinks it's a better idea for her to go and be with him. And they go up to the moon, where they meet the governor, Free Vizsla. He welcomes them and offers to have dinner with them. Obi-Wan plays along, but secretly goes out to scout out the moon, while he has Satine stall for time. Obi-Wan goes into a Beskar mining facility, where he is captured by members of Death Watch. But still in contact with Satine, he asks her to go and rescue him. She goes out to help and is able to shake off Free Vizsla. She eventually makes it to the mine, where she has to save Obi-Wan before he is crushed to death. And once she does that, her and Obi-Wan try to escape, but actually go into a large launch bay for the Mandalorians and their fighters. They prepare to fight them off, but Obi-Wan doesn't have his lightsaber, and with Satine being a pacifist, this causes major problems. But their leader comes and challenges Obi-Wan to a duel, and it's revealed that this is actually Free Vizsla. He tosses Obi-Wan his lightsaber and ignites his dark saber to fight the Jedi Master. And the two do fight for a while, but they have to go, and Obi-Wan retreats with Satine, barely being able to escape with their lives. Free Vizsla is still planning to get revenge, but knows he has to abandon the space for now. Going to address the Republic Senate, Satine and her allies go onto a ship going towards Coruscant, and while on the ship, Anakin joins up with Obi-Wan and notices much of the tension between the two, as Obi-Wan describes the past that the two had together, that while younger, him and Qui-Gon were on a mission together, and things got pretty intense as they were together, although he doesn't directly say it to Anakin. You can tell he did truly become to care for Satine during this time, but they don't have time for that now as assassin droids are sent out after Satine. They have to go and take them out, but that proves to be pretty difficult. And now Obi-Wan and Anakin are suspicious and need to figure out who is the person to send these assassin droids. After being able to figure out that it was one of the senators, Obi-Wan goes up to interrogate them. As Anakin looks for the last assassin droid, Obi-Wan is able to discover that Tal Merrick is the traitor and is working for Death Watch and the Separatists to try and kill her. After destroying the last droid, Anakin goes and has to begin to fight through a Separatist invasion force, and Merrick takes the teen hostage. Obi-Wan follows her and tries to save her, but throughout the ultimate standoff, Merrick has a detonator that will blow the ship. Satine has a gun aimed at her and Obi-Wan has a lightsaber, and he gives them the ultimate scenario where if Obi-Wan kills him, then he will be lost in Satine's eyes. But if Satine kills him, he'll be a traitor. Well, she'll be a betrayal of everything that she believes in. He laughs at the ultimate predicament, and he doesn't realize Anakin has snuck up behind him and killed him before he could do anything. After laughing this off, Anakin, Obi-Wan, Satine, and the rest of the senators are able to arrive on Coruscant safely. Once there, Satine goes to address the Senate, saying that although times are tough, that Mandalore can and will stand by itself, and they cannot have Republic forces going on because that'll only make things worse with the people. Before she could convince anyone, there is a recording played by Mandalore's Deputy Minister Jarek, who goes to explain that Satine does not have things handled and that Republic intervention is needed. This is pushing the Senate to want to go and send an invasion force to Mandalore, although Satine refuses, saying that she does not need it. And things are starting to get more and more intense. An attempt is made against Satine's life, and while she goes and meets with Palpatine to try and get charges pressed and an investigation happen, it is said that there's not enough evidence to go after these assassins, since there was no evidence left in the wreckage. But also, Miss Mita points out that this is a perfect reason for the Republic to invade, since clearly Death Watch is out of control. Satine storms out and runs into Padme, who tells her that the Senate voted on invading her homeworld while she was in the meeting with Palpatine. And Satine is getting more and more furious, but Obi-Wan is far more concerned about her safety, knowing that another attempt will be made against her. But Satine refuses protection because she cares far more about her people. And Satine decides to go and deal with this herself, knowing that there's really no one on her side. And she goes and meets up with a member from the Mandalore Security Department, and she is given evidence that the speech by the now dead Deputy Minister Jarek was doctored and sent in to provoke the Republic. But before she can do anything, a Death Watch assassin tries to kill her, but actually kills her contact and unintentionally frames her for murder. She runs and has to go to get help, so she contacts the one person she knows she could trust, Obi-Wan, and asks him to help get this snuck into the Senate and have Padme display this to the Senate. And after taking down the assassin, Obi-Wan and Satine go to the Senate building. And once they get to the Senate building, Satine causes a distraction so Obi-Wan could get in without being checked. And she is arrested while Obi-Wan goes in and gives this to Padme. Padme is able to reveal this and is able to stop the Republic invasion of Mandalore. but this angers the Death Watch, who are now angry with Dooku, saying they were promised an invasion of the Republic so they could look like the heroes. They want to push off the invasion themselves, but Dooku points out that they won't be able to do this because they won't have the support of the people like they would with the Republic invasion, so they would have to just wait and bide their time. Satine is glad she was able to save her people, but is still worried about the Republic's system and does not want this war to continue. Boba Fett, seeking revenge for the death of his father at the hands of Mace Windu, infiltrates a Republic cruiser, joining a group of clone cadets so he can infiltrate the ship and kill Windu. Taking the name Lucky, he goes and manages to fall asleep, infiltrate the clone troopers since he is a clone of his father, and he is able to show off well his skills which he learned from his father, making him seem very impressive among the other clone cadets. And when no one is paying attention, he sneaks off and plants a bomb in Mace Windu's room. In contact with the bounty hunter Aura Singh, Boba sneaks back to go and meet up with his clone group so he is not suspected. And Mace Windu nearly falls into the trap, but being requested by Anakin to go to the bridge, immediately Windu goes and asks the clone to place himself in his room, and the clone actually sets off the trap, killing him. Boba thinks at first he has succeeded, but is angered once he learns that his plan has failed, and gets in contact with Aura Singh. She orders him to go and blow the reactor of the ship, and hopefully Windu will be taken down with the ship going down. And although Boba is reluctant, he agrees and goes on to do it. And at the same time, Anakin and Windu are becoming extremely suspicious, and after first thinking it was an attack on them and trying to infiltrate the ship, they realized that it was not, and this had to be an attempt against Windu himself, since there was no vital parts of the ship in this area. Boba does manage to go and destroy the ship's reactor, and with the other clone cadets, he goes out into an escape pod, which he sabotages and is picked up by Slave One, where Boba Fett leaves his fellow clone cadets to die and joins up with Aura Singh and her crew. He then watches as a Republic ship crashes down onto the planet of Vancouver, and Admiral Killian, refusing to leave his ship, goes down with the ship and has Anakin and Mace Windu worried. But first they go and find the missing clone cadets, and they are able to explain the situation to the Jedi. And now that this has been resolved, they don't have time to look for this assassin. They have to go and rescue Admiral Killian and his men, but Boba Fett and his crew are already down on Vancouver to go and see if Windu was killed in the crash. They quickly realize he was not and manage to escape, and they take Killian and the rest of the crew of the Republic ship that stayed on the ship prisoner. They also leave a little surprise for the Jedi once they come to check the ship, and at this point, Anakin and Windu land on the planet and begin to investigate the wreckage. And while investigating, they go up and on the bridge they begin to look around, where Anakin finds a Mandalorian helmet. And at this moment, Mace Windu is able to piece everything together, realizing that this has to be Boba Fett wanting revenge for the death of his father. But before he could stop Anakin, the trap is sprung and a massive explosion consumes the bridge. And this knocks the two Jedi out, pinning them under rubble, and knowing that they're likely doomed unless they get help, Anakin calls for R2 to go and receive help from the Republic, and R2 goes to get in contact, but at the same time, Boba Fett, looking to see if Windu has died in the explosion, convinces the other bounty hunters to go and check and see if they're dead, since the Separatists will pay a large bounty if they can confirm the deaths of Anakin Skywalker and Mace Windu. So they go to investigate the ship, but R2, still being there and not having the chance to get away, goes and begins to sabotage the efforts of the bounty hunters, and they believe that there's no way for the Jedi to have survived. And R2 tries to escape, but is attacked by a Gundark, and both the Mace Windu's astromech droid and Anakin's starfighter are destroyed. So R2 goes into Mace Windu's starfighter and takes off, and misreading the situation, Boba and the bounty hunters think that Windu has survived and try to pursue him. And at this point, R2 is able to make it to one of the hyperdrive docking rings and escapes. And believing that Mace Windu has escaped, they go and try to continue their plan from a new angle, not knowing that Windu is still down below on the planet, and they could have easily taken him out. And R2 is able to go and get help from the Jedi, where Plo Koon and Ahsoka manage to make it just in time before the cruiser collapses upon itself, and they're able to bring the Jedi to be healed at the Jedi Temple. Now getting desperate, Boba begins to listen more and more to Aura Singh, and she convinces him to send a message to the Jedi saying that Windu must come, and if he does not, they will kill hostages, showing the hostages they took from the Republic cruiser, and Boba Fett refuses to kill one of them, but Aura simply goes and kills him, later saying Boba must not hesitate to kill people, and yeah, things are pretty intense. Boba does kind of regret what he's doing, thinking they've gone a little too far, but Mace Windu, in no condition to go, is told to stay back as Plo Koon and Ahsoka Tano go to hunt down the bounty hunters. And while doing this, Aura and the rest of the bounty hunters go to the planet of Florum. And while there, one of the crew members wants to get out and contacts one of his friends to see if he could, well, just get a way out. And at the same time, Ahsoka and Plo Koon enter a bar where she overhears a conversation about the other bounty hunter working with Aura Singh, and saying that it's pretty bad luck for him to be working with her. And, well, he's right, because Aura has killed the guy, but things have worked out since they are able to get the information of where Aura Singh is, and now Plo Koon and Ahsoka head out to Florum and to confront the bounty hunters. Landing on the planet, they go and prepare to confront the bounty hunters. Entering into Hondo's bar, they go and begin to talk. Aura is furious that Windu did not show up, and orders Bosk to go and be ready to kill the hostages at a moment's notice. But at the same time, Ahsoka comes out and takes Aura hostage, as Boba has taken Plo Koon hostage, and they are at a standoff, and a fight breaks out where they are able to capture Boba, but Aurra Sing goes and runs for it, and they see this as a problem because there is still the hostages, and they know that they need to go and capture her before the hostages are killed or are taken and given to the separatists. Both would be horrible situations, and they ask Boba where she would have gone, and initially refusing, Hondo comes in and tells Boba that it would be the honorable thing to do and what his father would do, since this hostage situation is a very bad thing, and Boba Fett relents and goes and tells them where Slave One is. They are able to go and track down Aurra Sing. They save the hostages, although Aurra Sing is presumed dead when Slave One crashes. We have Bossk and Boba Fett taken into custody, and Boba tells Windu how he will never forgive him for what he has done to his father. Duchess Satine asks her friend, Padme Amidala, to visit the world of Mandalore, because after getting neutrality in this war, in the entire thing with Death Watch, she's been having a hard time getting supplies for her people due to the war, and just to get a little help, she does ask her friend to come over, since there's been a lot of corruption throughout the planet with the black market being used to sell basic goods and supplies that they should be able to provide, but with the war they are not. And when in a meeting with Satine and her council, Padme just sees how truly bad things are, with there being lots of arguing and fighting inside of the building, and although Satine does want this to stop and wants to find a solution, things have been getting pretty bad. Meanwhile, on the docks, smugglers have been bringing in many of these different materials and have decided to use Slaben to create tea and a drink that many do have, and this will be getting things cheaper, but if it is done wrong, they could be pretty dangerous and act as poison. But they do not care since we're able to get them more money and it makes the production cheaper. Things, of course, are getting worse, and the obvious thing happens. This tea was not made correctly, and children have begun to get poisoned. Things have been getting pretty bad. So Padme and Satine decide to go and visit the hospital, where they learn of this and learn that all of the students were at the same school. So they go and visit and figure out that the tea has been something being imported to the school to help with the lack of drinks and stuff. So they track this down and learn that Slaben is in it, and they go to the docks to investigate. Figuring out the school superintendent has something behind this, they are able to get some clues from him because he did not know the drinks were poisoned, and he sends them to the docks. And at the docks, they meet up with one of the people, and he basically says that, yeah, he admits to it, but he has done nothing really illegal, and they can't go and arrest him. So Satine decides to take things into her own hands. Thinking around, they figure out just how bad things are and find the warehouse. They go, and Satine is furious with this, and she decides to burn down the warehouse, even though the guards don't think it's a good idea. Satine is able to convince them to do it. The smugglers are in a pretty bad place and decide to go and retreat, and Padme is understanding of her friend and decides to help her and requests for the Jedi to send someone to go and teach the next generation about corruption and why it is bad. The Jedi decide to send Ahsoka, and after Anakin drops her off, Satine tells that they do not allow outsiders to bring weapons after everything that just recently happened with Obi-Wan, and Anakin takes her lightsaber, and Ahsoka goes and begins to teach the kids of Mandalore. She teaches many, including Satine's nephew Corky, and gives them some basic lessons about corruption, why it's bad, and the effects of it. Later that night, Corky and a few of his friends are really just hungry and want to find food. They decide to go and check out the docks to see if there is any food and figure out why there are food shortages. They go and discover a secret meeting between someone in the government and smugglers. They do manage to get a recording, but after making a mistake, they are pursued away. Corky does go to his Aunt Satine and tries to get her help, but she tells him that they should not be dealing with this and she will deal with it. Not really trusting her, they then go to the Prime Minister, Olmec, and this will then tell everything to him and set up a meeting. And finally, they are questioned by Ahsoka in class and they tell her everything. And suspicious of this, Ahsoka follows them to the meeting where her suspicions are confirmed when the kids are ambushed by the same guards they saw the previous night, and this gets them very suspicious. When Ahsoka's able to save them, Ahsoka's able to use a hologram identifier to figure out that Almec is the one behind all of this, and Ahsoka begins a plan. She has the cadets being arrested and taken in, as Ahsoka has turned them in, believing that they are part of the corruption, and thinks that Satine might be behind it also. Almec reveals that he has already arrested her, and after leaving the cadets and Almec, Ahsoka is able to use a Jedi mind trick to get into Satine's cell to check on her, but Almec reveals that he has trained his guards to resist Jedi mind tricks, and he has actually captured Ahsoka, the Duchess, and the students, and begins to torture them and tries to force Satine to sign over a confession that she is the one behind the corruption. But at this time, Ahsoka is able to break free and capture Olmec, and teaching the students a good lesson about corruption and why it is bad. She has done her job, meets up with Anakin, and leaves to go back to the war. After Anakin Skywalker is sent off on a mission alone, Ahsoka Tano is stuck at the Jedi Temple, and after having a vision of Aurra Sing trying to kill someone, she is very concerned and goes to Yoda for help, who advises her to meditate. And after a little bit, Ahsoka is able to make this vision a lot more clear and realizes that Aurra Sing is going to be attempting to kill Padme, and wanting to help, Ahsoka goes and offers her services to Padme to protect her, and Padme does agree since she refuses to stay back on Coruscant because she is going to a meeting on Alderaan about refugees of the war, something she finds very important. And Ahsoka then goes and talks to Senator, telling her how she does have doubts in her abilities, and Padme does reassure her, telling her that she just needs to trust and believe in herself. And later that night, Ahsoka has another vision and believes that Padme is about to be killed. Running into her room, Ahsoka realizes this was just a false alarm. She does apologize, but this puts far more doubt into her mind. But Ahsoka is still getting more and more visions, and is able to pinpoint about where Singh would be, knowing that she'll be in the air ducts and security is increased. But Singh is still able to kill the guard and prepares to assassinate Padme. But Ahsoka is able to figure out Singh is up there, and although she does get a shot off, Ahsoka's distraction makes it a non-lethal shot, only injuring Padme slightly, and Ahsoka puts together a plan to trap Singh, and they use a droid that Padme is speaking through, so Padme is safe, but Singh sees through the plan and goes to kill Padme herself. So Ahsoka goes, sensing the problem in the trap, and is able to defend Padme, but she is taken down. But before Singh can do anything, Padme is able to stun her, and now Aura has been brought back into custody and has been questioned, and we do learn that she was not sent to kill Padme for political reasons, but it is just revenge that someone wants. Using the Force, Ahsoka is able to see laughter and something purple, not really knowing what to make out of it. But Padme is able to figure it out and figures that it has to be Ziro the Hutt. And at this point, Anakin and Ahsoka go to question Ziro, and Ahsoka is able to trick Ziro into confessing he sent Aura Singh to kill Padme, and this puts Ziro into prison for far longer. After intercepting separatist communications about an invasion on the planet of Kamino, Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi prepare to go to the clones' home world to defend it so they do not lose the Grand Army of the Republic. And when there, Rex, Cody, and the final two members of the Domino Squad, Fives and Echo, all go and prepare Kamino for the attack. And at the time, Fives and Echo run into 99, who shows them the medal that Heavy gave to him back when he was a clone cadet, and then he is devastated to learn that Heavy did die saving Republic forces on the Rishi moon. General Grievous begins his attack on Kamino, and Anakin and his forces are able to easily cut through Grievous's forces. Obi-Wan is suspicious about how easy this is and goes to investigate. Going underwater, he learns that this was Grievous's plan to have his ships destroyed, and they will crash down to the oceans, where some aqua droids that Ventress was able to get in were used to go and make assault ships that could come and attack Kamino directly. Obi-Wan is barely able to make it after his pod is destroyed and goes to help defend Tapoka City. As Obi-Wan stays to deal with General Grievous, and Anakin goes to protect the clone DNA chamber from Ventress, Fives and Echo run across a group of clone cadets with 99 and know that they have to get them to safety. They bring them to the barracks, but knowing that they need to fight still, they set up a trap for the droids, which is mainly successful. They do a very good job with it, but sadly 99 is killed while trying to go and resupply the clones. Meanwhile, in the rest of the facility, Anakin is able to push Ventress back, and she's not able to get a sample of the clone DNA, and Obi-Wan forces Grievous to retreat, but is knocked off a platform, but is saved at the last moment by one of the flying creatures of Kamino. And the Republic is ultimately victorious at Kamino, but they have suffered many losses, and the clones truly look up to 99 as a true hero. Finally, for their great victories and their exemplary service in the battle, both Fives and Echo are able to achieve their dreams of being promoted to ARC troopers. It is a great honor for them, although they do know they have had many people who didn't die so they could get this rank, and they definitely will not forget those people, including Heavy, 99, the rest of the Domino Squad, and so many other clone brothers, and they know they'll be losing many more throughout the war. The Trade Federation has once again blockaded a world. This time they've blockaded the world of Pandora to push the newly elected Chairman Papanoida into joining the Separatists, although they aren't officially saying that this is what the Separatists want them to do, and they want to push them away from the Republic, seemingly learning nothing from what happened on Naboo. The Republic is very reluctant to help. At the same time, Count Dooku is offering them aid if they join the Separatists. And the Republic senator for Pandora is sent to go and address the Senate. And at this time, the Trade Federation, as with Naboo, are denying that this is an illegal blockade and are saying that this is completely legal. And although Senator Tucci is outraged by this, she still has faith in the Republic, and Padme goes to reassure her that she should definitely remain loyal and tells her of her experiences when she was Queen of Naboo, and basically the same thing happened. But Dooku and the Separatists really want this to happen and take Pandora from the Republic, and they send the bounty hunter Greedo to go and kidnap the chairman's daughters. Ahsoka agrees to help, saying that the Separatists are most likely behind this, especially since they have offered to help find the daughters, as long as they go and join the Separatists. Ahsoka and Senator Chuchi go to investigate the Trade Federation control ship that is parked above Pandora, as the chairman begins to lead his own investigation, since the Republic investigation is not going anywhere, not finding any evidence. They do find a statue that's been put out of place and find the blood of Greedo, and they go to Tatooine to track down the Rodian. And once they do, they take him prisoner and bring him to Jabba the Hutt, and asking him for simply to make Greedo talk because they are both fathers. Jabba does agree once the evidence is brought to him, also likely to keep his alliance with the Republic, since it is beneficial to him. And with this, Greedo has to take the chairman to the kidnappers and one of the chairman's daughters. Meanwhile, on the Trade Federation ship, Ahsoka and Senator Chuchi are able to sneak around and learn that the other daughter is being held prisoner on the ship, and they have done it for the Separatists. And going to sneak around, Ahsoka uses a Jedi mind trick to get her and the Senator into the quarters and rescues one of the daughters. Meanwhile, back on Tatooine, Greedo is brought to the other daughter and quickly enacts a firefight once his allies are able to catch on to what's going on. They are defeated and one of the daughters is rescued. And Ahsoka and Chuchi manage to reach the other daughter. And once they do go and try to escape, they are confronted by the Neimoidians, who play dumb and act like they didn't know she was there. They put one of the Neimoidians as a fall guy, blaming it all on him, saying he's an extremist, no longer associated with the Trade Federation, and is a loyalist of Newt Gunray. Although that is really ridiculous. They do accept this as long as the Trade Federation takes down their blockade, which they do, and this is all resolved. Now that the Trade Federation has suffered a major blow, they definitely have to be a lot more careful and try to hide their connections with the Separatists, since this nearly exposed them as being not neutral in the war. Padme Amidala is throwing a massive party to help convince one of the senators, Senator Aang, to vote with her on the Military Oversight Committee. And with this, she is trying to make sure everything is perfect, since he is a very precise person who wants everything to be perfect. And with this, she is with Anakin and 3PO and R2. 3PO is being even more precise with everything and irritating both Anakin and Padme. They quickly realize that the Jogan fruit, which is needed to be put on a cake that Senator Aang really enjoys, is missing, and Anakin sends 3PO and R2 to go and get the fruit so it can be placed on the cake. Conveniently, at the same time, Cad Bane has been put on a mission to take the droid of Padme Amidala to get the plans for the Senate building from him, and scoping out, he wrongly assumes that C-3PO is the droid he is looking for, and goes after 3PO. But before he does that, 3PO is able to buy the Jogan fruit, which he is scammed on, and although R2 is pointing this out, 3PO silences him, and the recently rebuilt Toto 360 goes and offers to take them to a droid spa. Although 3PO is hesitant, R2D2 really does want to go, thinking they would have plenty of time. And as R2 goes in to get cleaned, 3PO is taken by Cad Bane and begins to be tortured. While trying to get information out of him, Cad Bane quickly realizes that 3PO does not have this information in him, and 3PO accidentally slips up saying that R2D2 has the information. R2 has been fully cleaned up and is going out to look for 3PO. Quickly realizing something is wrong, he begins to run from the assassin droid sent after him that is trying to hunt him down. Although he does manage to successfully evade him, they go and threaten 3PO, saying how they will destroy him, and R2 decides to go to help his friend. As R2 goes, the information is taken out of him, and Cad Bane, knowing that they need to keep up appearances, wipes their memory of the recent events and sends them back. Padme is beginning to panic because she needs to go and get this cake out, and 3PO and R2 have not been back, and they're beginning to wonder where they are. Right before the cake is about to be taken out, 3PO and R2 return, and Anakin is able to get it to the kitchen and have the cake made. Although things are pretty bad when Padme tells 3PO he did a magnificent job, and 3PO will not shut up about it. Meanwhile, Cad Bane has brought the plans back to the people who employed him, turning out that it is Jabba the Hutt, and Jabba has a meeting with the Hutt Council to see if they should go and bring Ziro the Hutt out of prison. They quickly agree and go to Cad Bane to have him attack the Senate building to take the members of the Senate hostage. Of course, not the Senate himself, since no one could truly get him, but they do this so they can get information out of him, which leads to Cad Bane beginning his mission. And once Cad Bane has returned to Coruscant, he begins to execute his plan with a team of bounty hunters. The starting off members of this include Aura Singh and a few other of the most notorious bounty hunters in the galaxy, including Rubano, a few IG units, and many more different people, including Weequay and more. And with this, they began to go and take out many of the Senate guards. At the same time, Anakin is visiting with Padme and having a conversation with her in her office. Padme does need to go down to a meeting, and Anakin does give her his lightsaber. And at this point, Anakin is forced to hide since he's not supposed to be there. And Padme, holding on to his lightsaber, goes down to meet with the other senators. Cad Bane is ready to execute his plan, and at this point, he goes and begins to trap all the senators in the room, taking out the power to the Senate building and trapping everyone inside. He goes and contacts Chancellor Palpatine and demands that they release Ziro the Hutt. And with this, the only person who could prevent them is Anakin, but he does not have his lightsaber since Padme currently has it. And the senators are being interrogated and when having their items taken by Cad Bane, although Padme is able to successfully hide the lightsaber. Anakin is discovered, and some of the bounty hunters are sent after him. And although he does do a good job trying to evade them, he is eventually captured and taken to the other senators. Palpatine, at this point, knows that he has to go and give up Ziro. And with this, he does release Ziro the Hutt, and his Ziro is picked up. The bounty hunters go and prepare to escape, and while they do this, we see how they have set a series of explosives with tripwires so no one can go. And as Cad Bane prepares to leave, he goes to detonate the explosives, but Anakin, taking his lightsaber back, is able to cut a hole in the ground to save the senators, and Cad Bane prepares to return Ziro to the Hutts. At the same time, while trying to pursue Ziro, a unknown Jedi, likely either Luminar Unduli or Barriss Offee, are pursuing him, and an attack leads to the death of the parents of Trace and Rafa Marquez, and they are not able to catch Ziro or Cad Bane. Once Cad Bane arrives on Nal Hutta with Ziro, he turns him over to the Hutt Council. As they begin to question him, it turns out that Ziro has a hollow diary that has some incriminating evidence against the Hutt Council that he is using to blackmail them, since they cannot make a move against him, since if they do, he will have this diary released and they can all be placed under arrest. And this will not be good for any of them, so they go and have Ziro imprisoned until he gives up the information. At this time, Ziro's ex, Size Noodles, goes and breaks him out and takes him to his mother, and she lets Ziro use one of her ships to go and leave the planet since he is in danger. At the same time, Obi-Wan Kenobi is joined by his friend and fellow Jedi Master Quinlan Voss, who is an excellent tracker and has good connections to the underworld since he is an undercover agent for the Jedi. And he is able to use his connections to figure out that it was most likely the Hutt Council who had Ziro taken. So Obi-Wan and Quinlan go to the world of Nal Hutta, where Obi-Wan tries to peacefully question the members of the Hutt Council, wanting to keep their alliance intact, although Quinlan Voss is a lot more aggressive, but is also able to use his abilities in psychometry, which is the ability to look into the past events tied to an object to see that Ziro the Hutt has been in here, with him finding a cup that Ziro did use. And the hunt is on, as Cad Bane is once again sent out to hunt down Ziro and figure out where he went. Obi-Wan and Quinlan eventually reach Ziro's mother's house and begin to question him, and she reveals that Cad Bane has already been there, and so is Ziro, and they were both heading for the world of Teth. Once Ziro arrives there, since he is first, he goes and collects the diary from his father's grave, but Sice Noodles, wanting revenge for Ziro abandoning her, shoots Ziro and kills him, taking the diary and going back to Jabba before anyone else does show up. And Cad Bane and Obi-Wan and Quinlan show up around the same time, both finding the body of Ziro. And although Cad Bane is fine with leaving, Obi-Wan and Quinlan try to arrest the bounty hunter, and they get into a massive fight where Cad Bane does manage to escape, and Obi-Wan and Quinlan are forced to go home with a major defeat. At the same time, Slice Noodles returns to Jabba and is paid out for collecting the bounty to get revenge on Ziro and bring back the diary of the Hutt Council. She is greatly rewarded, and this is really just a victory for the criminal underworld of the galaxy. There are multiple bills on the floor in the Senate to escalate the war, including one to deregulate the banks and another one to go and increase the protection of clone troopers. And with this, the senators of Padme Amidala, Mon Mothma, Bail Organa, Anaconda Farr, and some others are strictly against this, thinking that they need to find a peaceful solution to the war, while people from the banking clan, trade federation, techno union, and Kaminoans, wanting more money for themselves, want this to be passed, and this will put more money in their pockets to gain from the war. And with this, Padme really does want to contact one of her friends who is in the Separatist, Mina Bonteri. At the same time, Anakin and Ahsoka were listening in on the Senate's meetings, and Ahsoka is very confused to what the war is about and doesn't really know what is going on. And Padme agrees to take Ahsoka under her wing to teach her a little more about the politics of the galaxy and why the war is being fought. And although Anakin is a little objective, he does let his secret wife go and mentor Ahsoka with this. Padme does convince Ahsoka to be able to get her to the separatist homeworld of Raxus so she can go and try and negotiate peace with her friend Mina. And although Ahsoka is reluctant, thinking that from her experiences of how evil all the separatists are, she goes and begins her journey to the planet. And once she arrives, she meets Mina and her family. And Ahsoka begins to have a strange connection with Mina's son Lux as Padme goes and begins to discuss potentially having peace with her longtime friend. At the same time, Ahsoka and Lux begin to discuss the stereotypes of each other and begin to realize that they are not too different and that the other side is not fully evil and there are good people on both sides of the war. They realize much more about each other and begin to have a strong connection. At the same time, General Grievous has been contacted by Dooku and the heads of the Trade Federation, Techno Union, and Banking Clan, who, desperate to have this law passed, think that an attack on Coruscant is the only way that it will be passed, and General Grievous executes a plan to send in a suicide bomber droid brigade and have them blow up the power station on Coruscant. And while this is happening, Mina Bonteri and Padme both do agree that they need a peaceful solution to this war. And at the same time, they go and Mina addresses the Senate of the Confederacy of Independent Systems. At this time, they fully agree that they should go for a more peaceful approach and want to go and negotiate with the Republic. And this pushes Dooku, his master Sidious, who is obviously Palpatine, a few members of the Banking Clan, Trade Federation, and Techno Union into fear that this war could be over, with the members of the different federations and unions and Banking Clan being afraid of losing the money, but it is far more terrifying towards Sidious and Dooku, who have planned to have this war be dragged out so the Jedi Order can be wiped out. And they are hoping that General Grievous's plan will fully work, because if it isn't, their entire plans can be derailed. And with this, Padme returns to Coruscant, where she goes directly to Palpatine to tell him about this, and then goes to the Senate to tell them about the potential peace offering and how these new bills will be pointless if they could create peace. Palpatine does have to play the facade that he is willing to go this route, and at the time the attack of the Separatists began, as the power generator is destroyed and power goes out throughout Coruscant. This sparks great fear in the people, and Palpatine is secretly relieved that this has all worked out. Anakin is also furious at Padme and Ahsoka for going behind his back and doing something so risky. Things have begun to escalate even further with the fact that this attack has happened, and people want even more to escalate this war. As Padme tries to reason with them, saying that this cannot have been the Separatists because this had to be someone trying to go and escalate the war, and the Separatists still have their peace offer, but we learn that Mina has been killed supposedly by a Republic attack, although it was clearly Dooku who had her assassinated, and Dooku says that the Confederacy of Independent Systems withdraws their offer for peace, which is pushing them farther and farther into wanting war. And with this, the group of senators now go and plan to try and find another way to get out of this bill being passed, because the banks cannot be deregulated, because that will just hurt the Republic far more. And when they meet with the members of the banking clan, they realize that the interest rate being placed on the Republic is going to be extremely high and could fully bankrupt the government with how much they're demanding. And this really terrifies the senators, and they begin to look for another way out of this. At the same time, many of the senators are going about their lives and are being attacked by bounty hunters that have been hired by Count Dooku, including Rubano and a Selkath, doing the main enforcement of this. And they are trying to scare the senators into backing this bill so the war could be escalated. And even though Anakandafar has been attacked, he decides that he just has to keep with his morals, since he has already nearly betrayed the Republic, and many of those senators want to keep with their morals, not fearing what could happen, and Bail Organa prepares to address the Senate on this issue. Padme is attacked, forced to steal Speeder, which she gets arrested for, although things are quickly resolved after they realize what is going on, and she was just trying to flee from people who were trying to kill her. After Padme is with one of her handmaidens named Tekla, and she is telling Padme about how the war has affected her family, and Padme realizes the strategy can be used to show how this war is affecting the average people, and this can be extremely helpful to their cause, saying that they cannot deregulate the banks because this will just be hurting the people of the Republic even more. And this was originally going to be part of Senator Organa's speech, but when he is also attempted to be assassinated, he is severely injured and cannot give a speech. This leaves Padme as the one who has to give a speech, and although she is extremely terrified to do this, she goes and addresses the Senate, telling them about how this war has affected people like her handmaiden Tekla, and how their families have been greatly suffering with this. Padme gains a lot of sympathy from the people, and the plan to deregulate the banks has been foiled. The people of the Republic vote to go and not deregulate the banks and to help people of the galaxy. And although Palpatine and Masamita are disappointed and a little angry about how the power of Padme and her willingness to take this down was able to get this revoked, but Palpatine knows that he needs to be playing the long game, and this ultimately won't matter in the end. And he is fully right, since there is also a bill to go and increase the amount of clone troopers being produced. And even though Padme and the fellow senators are against this, things begin to get more complicated when Anaconda Farr drops dead in a meeting between the senators. Padme is saddened by the loss of Anaconda Farr, who she saw as an uncle because of how close he was. Another person devastated is a Rhodian named Lolo, who was a close friend of Anaconda Farr, and with this, Lieutenant Devo, an inspector on Coruscant, begins his investigation and is coming to the conclusion that this was a murder. And this surprises Padme and the other senators, and Padme plans to launch her own investigation into this. While looking into it, they go and want to question the members who are supporting this bill, since they seem like they are the most likely ones to have gone and attempted to assassinate Farr since he was against them politically. They go and question Senator Dici of Ibarra and Senator Bertoni of Camino, and both deny that they had anything to do with this. Dici does admit he had someone following Farr, and he had a secret meeting at the docks. And with this, they go to the docks to investigate into this. As Padme and Bail are there, someone tries to kill them. This leads to Lieutenant Devo coming and being annoyed at them, but they quickly realize that Dici has set them into a trap and go to question him. Arriving at his office, they find that Dici has been murdered and are trying to figure out who this could have been. They were able to quickly narrow this down to Senator Bertoni, who has both been in the room when they were sent to the docks, and there's also a Kaminoan poison found in the blood of Anaconda Farr. And with this, they begin to question her as she denies that she did it, but Padme catches on to something. She realizes that the poison, which has been described as something that would kill any Rhodian, could not have been the cause of death, since Lolo was also there, and she would have drank from the drink that had poison in it also. Padme then begins to piece things together and realize that Lolo didn't actually drink from her drink, and Lolo reveals that she is the killer and wanted to kill Farr for betraying his people with the incident on Rhodia, where he nearly joined the Separatists, and she takes Padme hostage, although she is quickly taken down by some police droids and Padme, and although they have done a minor victory here, taking out the killer, they are devastated to learn that the bill has been passed to increase the number of clone troopers. Thank you for watching this episode of Legends and Theories. Please subscribe, like the video, share the video, leave a comment, check out the video on screen, and may the Force be with you.